Listen, following football costs enough money already, so don't let your mobile bill mug you off. Rocket Mobile gives you unlimited everything for £16 a month. No nonsense. Powered by Vodafone and Free, plus exclusive content and prizes when you switch on over. Scan the QR code or click the link and put that cash back into football.
Welcome back to AFTV. I've got Marty with me. He's always smiling, and why wouldn't he? Arsenal back on top of the table, courtesy of a 1-0 win against Everton. I would say that maybe the result was probably better than the performance. What do you reckon?
Top of the tree at Christmas. How about that? Look, the performance was professional. We got the job done. It wasn't the prettiest game of football to watch, but we got the job done. And we're top of the table at Christmas by 2 points. Okay, so first and foremost, I think for me what impressed me about the team today is City played first. They got the job done West Ham 3-0, which we kind of knew was going to happen. So it's over to us, late kick-off. You're away from home to a new stadium for us to go to. Everton is a team that I believe, we drew last year. So listen, it's an improvement on that result. And then we won the year before. Then I think the 7 games at Goodison before that, I believe we lost, or 6 definitely. So it's not been a happy hunting ground for us at times. For many seasons. So to get the win by any means necessary is important. To get the 3 points, that is what this is about, is getting the job done. We can all get caught up in, we need to improve. There's always going to be in football, there's always going to be, you're right there, mate. There's always going to be things.
Presence.
I know, sorry, mate. Just overbearing. And, so there's always going to be things that you need to improve. That's football. Could we have finished those chances? Look, personally, you'd bet your house on Trossard. He's, fantastic ball that gets played through from Declan Rice. And it gets played into Trossard. He opens his body up. The goal is gaping. Pickford's basically, you've got to hit it anywhere on target, just not at Pickford. And it's in the back of the net. But Trossard has been fantastic this season. It hits the post. There's another Zubimendi chance. He hits the post. I think it was a fantastic shot. Zubimendi probably didn't have his best game. He was good in parts. But, that goes in. It's 3-0. There's also a Gyökeres penalty shout where he gets pushed in the back. That could have been another penalty. It could be 4-0, ifs, buts, maybes. Listen, they could have had a couple of penalties. I mean, there was the Martin Zubimendi shove outside the box. Personally, I think they were hard done by not to get a free kick there. And the penalty shout,
that was the one against Saliba, right?
Yes, the Saliba. Yeah. He kicks his foot. Is there, for me, enough contact? I mean, there's contact, but is there enough contact? He's got his back to goal. Is he in a goal scoring? Is it a foul? Look, it's contentious. I think in the poll, 54% of people said yes. 46 said no. So, look, I've seen them given, I've seen them not given. At the end of the day, it wasn't given, and we won the game 1-0. And look, it was a professional job. We, dominated possession. We had the majority of possession. Raya didn't really have any saves to make.
Well, they didn't have a shot on goal.
Well, there you go.
Well, shot on target anyway.
Right, so that's a good stat. I like seeing that, especially with this, this back four. We're still missing Gabriel. Yeah. He's a huge player. And a lot of Raya's work was distribution, moving the ball around, and at times we invited some pressure onto ourselves by playing the ball around the back, but we got it right because we kept a clean sheet. Now, to go away from home and keep a clean sheet in this game and to get the job done like that is fantastic. I love seeing Gabriel Jesus come on again. I thought he was brilliant. He looks good. I still don't want him starting. I love these little cameos. 20 minutes. He's starting. You can see now he's brought him on. He brought him on after I think it was 60 minutes. So he's giving it a bit more time. But I don't want to rush him into it. But a very important player for us. And I'm happy with the performance. Well, I'm happy with the result. When you want to win leagues, championships, competitions, it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be champagne football. You're going to get games like this where it's at times nervy, stressful. I mean, at the back end of the game, we were watching it and we were kind of, thinking what's going on here, and yeah, look, it could have gone either way, but it didn't. And you've got to give credit to the team for holding on and getting the job done like that.
Yeah, it was one of those games where even though we weren't really fluent, I thought for a start, I thought we deserved the win.
Yeah.
We, like you said, we hit the post twice. Could have had a penalty, so I don't think there can be too many arguments about the result.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that if we'd have won by a couple of goals, no one really would have complained. But even so, it was a little bit nervous, and I think the reason why is because of the stakes are so high. The jeopardy is a lot. You said yourself, we go into this game with City on top of the table, so you have to win. And I think whilst it was only 1-0, there always that danger that they could go down the other end and score, or a free kick, a penalty, you know what I mean, stuff like that. But it's one of those games where, like I said, they didn't have a shot on target. I think they only had 2 shots on goal in the whole match. They didn't really look that particularly threatening. I just think with us, we just lacked a bit of fluency at times. Do you think there was a little bit of nerves in there, or what?
Yeah, listen, I think you talk about nerves, and straight away what springs to mind for me is, look, Gyökeres has been under he's been a hot topic this week. His past performances against Bruges and Wolves, and obviously his lack of scoring. I think he's gone 5 games without scoring for Arsenal. But what I love seeing today, listen, are there improvements on his game? Yeah, which I'll come on to. But that penalty, Odegaard picks the ball up and Gyökeres goes over and essentially takes the penalty. I don't know what the communication was between them. Takes the penalty and he buries it. And that's what I want to see from our number 9. Gets on the score sheet. And there were some times that he, in front of goal, there were a couple of times which I've been critical of him against Bruges and Wolves where he's running into the box. There was a time, I think it was Timber that cut it back to Saka, but Gyökeres is in that position. He's ready to receive the ball in front of goal. When he got the push in the back, he's in front of goal, ready to tap it in. If he doesn't get pushed, I believe that's in the back of the net. There were a couple of hold-up play times where he could have done better, but I saw a vast improvement from him. I thought it was fantastic. I thought Declan Rice was also fantastic today. There were a couple of, a few challenges, like proper midfielder challenges where he goes in, he wins the ball, dominates midfield, moves the ball around fantastically. And, you've got to say those performances from standout players. I thought Saliba was good as well, carrying the ball forward, moving it through midfield and playing well with Gyökeres. Gyökeres and Trossard for me link up very well. I think they're starting to find their way, and I think we're going to see a lot more from Gyökeres and very shortly. Obviously, we've got one eye on a massive game against Crystal Palace on Tuesday night. For an opportunity to move forward into the Carabao Cup, and we need to take our opportunities just before Christmas. Getting into the semi-final of the Carabao Cup sets up a beautiful tie against Chelsea. We've got the away leg and then the home leg. It's perfect for that. That's
got to get past Palace first, though.
No, 100%. No, you're spot on. Don't underestimate. Just because they got smoked 4-1 by Leeds today, it doesn't mean that they're going to turn up. And to fair play to them, they played on Thursday night, a late game on Thursday night. They played late tonight, and then they've got a game against us on Tuesday. That's a few games in some tough games away at Leeds, a European game, and then obviously they're coming to the Emirates. Like, that is not an easy place to come to. So look, is it a game now? We can look at that game. I'm looking forward to it. It's a game just before Christmas as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get the job done.
What type of team do you think you'll go with? Do you think you'll make wholesale changes or changes?
I mean, defence-wise, look, I think Saliba and Hincapié have to play. Miles Lewis-Skelly in for Calafiori. And you've potentially got to start maybe with Timber or Josh Nichols. I'd like to see Kepa in goal. I would like to see Norgard get some minutes. I think for Zubimendi, I believe Rice has got to play that game. Eze in the 10, Medwakey on the right, Martinelli starts, and do you know what? I'll probably start Gyökeres to give him a bit more game time, and then obviously fitness wise, wherever he's at, and Gabriel Jesus, another 30-minute, 20-minute cameo to start bringing him back in and easing him back into this side. And I think, from what I saw of him today, he looked lively, sharp. You just know what you're getting with the guy. And, really, he was impressive. Just, if I wanted to be greedy, it would have been nice to maybe win the game by a few more goals. But listen, it's not always like that. You know, sometimes it is in FIFA, but you know, it's not always in Premier League football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the important thing is the win. Like I said, there was a lot of pressure on this game today. It's away from home. A place like you said, Marty, traditionally we've struggled there in the past. So to get a win, get a clean sheet, back on top of the table, are you confident now that Arsenal can kick on now and really get this thing sorted?
Yeah, listen, we are kicking on. I mean, look, to quickly go back to that Wolves game, albeit a dreadful, abysmal performance, but the thing that I'm seeing with this Arsenal team is in that game we go 1-0 up and then we camp out behind the ball, but when we concede that goal in the 90th minute, I've seen us before then go on to lose those games or certainly not win them. What we do, we pick the ball up, we take it down the other end, we stick it in the back of the net. You can't grumble with that. That is resilience. Then today, going away to Everton, a tough place, getting the job done, and that's it. Put the respect on the players for grinding it out and doing what they had to do. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, am I going to look back on this and really care how we perform? No, because it's totting up these points and getting wins, and especially with the pressure that Man City are starting to provide. I mean, listen, a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, they weren't really Man City. I think they've lost four games in the Premier League this season. They weren't really in the conversation. I mean, they always are, but it didn't look like now they're breathing down our necks, and we need to show mettle and we need to show resilience. And it's games like today, when you get through games like today and you do dominate and you put performances in, that's what starts to increase the confidence and that winning mentality. Then obviously the Palace game, it's only going to help.
Well said, Marty. I pretty much agree with everything you said there, mate.
Oh, cheers,
well
mate,
class.
for once.